Hi all, there you have it, the sights and sounds of Christmas at Old Fort Concho, which is the reason that we're having this little chat today. Joining me, of course, is my good friend and colleague, Bob Bluehart, the manager of Fort Concho. It's that time of year again.
It does seem to crop up on us quickly, doesn't it?
Well, this year it actually seems like it's going to be a little bit later than usual because it's December 7th through the 9th.
Let's jump on that one because the when is always the most important. It is indeed the same first full weekend of December, but every 7 years we get a break. We get an extra week after Thanksgiving. Can I have a hoorah for that?
Hoorah!
And therefore it will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, December 7, 8, and 9. So if you drop by on November 30, December 1 and 2, I mean, we'll be open, but don't expect a show.
Very good. So now Christmas at Old Fort Concho for anyone who hasn't been there. And if they haven't been to Christmas at Old Fort Concho, then shame on you.
Yes.
But it is St. Angelo's and probably West Texas' signature Christmas event. And it's got a whole menu of different things to enjoy each and every year. Starting with food. Tell us about the food at Christmas at Old Fort Concho.
Well, if you like to eat, you can certainly do it at the Christmas event. Now let's divide the food into two categories. What you can get anytime on the parade ground and what you can get if you buy a ticket to an event. On the parade ground, on the eastern end, there will be 4 to 6 food courts or food trucks selling all the stuff where the calories don't count because you're outside the home. So, you know.
It's calorie free until you put it in your mouth.
No, we like to think that mythically it's calorie free at all. It's all, you know, obviously fried and things that you just don't normally indulge in except for a special event, and this is a special event. All sorts of food you can eat on the run, or if you want to sit in our little picnic area, if it's nearby, there you go. Then at the west end, you have a couple of choices. You have the old-fashioned root beer stand, which is really good stuff, and we position that strategically right next to the kettle corn. So have a couple of bags of that kettle corn, and you'll love a couple of gallons of that root beer. And then the church group will be doing cowboy cobbler throughout the weekend, Friday and Saturday, I think, but not Sunday. Now, if you really want a formal sit-down meal, you've got two choices. On Saturday morning, you can have the pancake breakfast, and as a bonus, you can come and see Santa. Well, your kids can. I mean, if you're under 100 pounds, you can sit on Santa's lap. Although I did one year and asked for a city truck, and I actually got one. But I think it was in the budget anyway. That's Saturday morning from 7 to about 11. And then on Sunday morning, you can have the Cowboy Church breakfast, which is a really good breakfast, and that's $10. The church service is free, so you can feed your tummy and your soul.
And of course, the pancakes with Santa, that's always one of the big attractions each year.
Yeah.
It's a great kickoff for the day.
It is, and you can buy the combo ticket where you buy the special ticket, you save a couple of bucks on the admission, and there's the line that we can see on the screen, and it serves at least 1,500 to 2,000 people. I think last year they ran out of everything by 10:30, dough and sausage. They were just scrambling, no pun intended, to find everything they needed. So get there early. It's always a good program. There's entertainment, and of course Santa, and it's just a good way to start the day.
Now, you mentioned about all the things that are available on the parade grounds. Do you have a personal favorite?
Well, I must confess that time for the staff is rather short, so just standing in a short line to get something, we usually eat at the volunteer field kitchen, but it all looks tasty when they're walking around, the sausage wraps and the corn dogs and the fajitas and the various grilled vegetables. Maybe someday after I retire, I'll come as a guest and I'll eat my way through the place.
Very good. So along with the food, one of the other main attractions of Christmas at Old Fort Concho is shopping. Tell us about the Christmas shopping that can be done at Fort Concho December 7th through the 9th.
Well, you have two kinds of shopping, actually three. First, let's start with our little store in Barracks 1, the Sutler store. We have replica toys, we have t-shirts and caps, we have a really good book collection, and just all sorts of memory kind of things where if you've got that relative who's in exile someplace like Minnesota or Massachusetts, you can buy something from home and send it along. And we also have a terrific new item. It's a replica serving bowl of the 16th Infantry that was actually used at Fort Concho in the 1880s. And it's very reasonably priced and really is a handsome piece of crockery. I mean, the Army had some style back then. On the parade ground, we'll have about a half dozen sutlers. These are guys and gals who put up tents and sell anything that a soldier or a civilian would have bought back in the day. Some of them sell uniforms, so if you want to be George Custer, they may have some outfit there and you can, suit up. And then in the various buildings, about 10 of the buildings have a variety of vendors that will be selling clothing and food products. Of course, the monks will be an OQ1. Got to have those monks. Their breads and their baked goods and their jellies are just to die for. You can do a lot of good Christmas shopping, and I believe about 10 to 12 of the vendors this year are first-timers. So if you've been shopping every year, come on down again. There's more good stuff.
And there's a lot of affordable items there. It's not wildly expensive.
No. In fact, I think people over the years have figured out that in volume there is profit. You don't do well in bringing stuff to the Christmas event that's going to be $100 or $200. Now there may be some expensive items, but by and large I think many of the items are reasonably priced. And no knock on local shopping. We do try, though, to bring in merchants and vendors who sell and bring things you're just not going to find at another store in the city.
And it is one of the favorite things that I enjoy about Christmas Old Fort Concho is just wandering the parade grounds and just checking out all the vendors, because they've just got the most weird, interesting, kooky, unique items for sale.
Absolutely, and many of them are participatory, tops that you can spin, those little airplane things you can make go fly over, and just all sorts of things. You could probably say the kind of stuff your great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother would have had.
And so once you shop till you drop, there's also opportunities to rest with some entertainment and some music.
Yes, there are 3 basic entertainment areas that have seating, and 2 of them are indoors, so if the weather turns a little brisk or a little windy, you can hide out. Barracks 1 has what we call the Arclight Saloon, which is a throwback to an old watering hole downtown of years ago. No, there's no beer or wine there, but there's coffee and Cokes and snacks, and you can listen to a wide variety of local entertainers performing. Then in the chapel, we try to reserve that for more traditional music, gospel groups, church groups. And then on the parade field, we'll have 2 or 3 period bands performing throughout the weekend. And of course, we built that bandstand, and by golly, we're going to use it. So we will put at least 2 of the bigger bands on that. And you'll see how and why the Army built a bandstand that way. It's 3.5 feet above the ground. Don't need a PA. It'll just push the sound all over the place.
So Christmas at Old Fort Concho is, if nothing else, a family event. And that means lots of activities for kids. Tell us about the kid stuff at Christmas at Old Fort Concho.
What kid doesn't like artillery? Come on. We'll have 6 to 8 guns out there that will fire on the hour, but we need to say that in deference to those for whom loud noises are a problem, we're going to take an extra hour off this year. We heard from a lot of folks who suggested we have a little break. So on Saturday and on Sunday, there will be a 2-hour cannon-free zone. So between about 11:15 and about 1 o'clock, the guns go silent. Now this also allows us to feed everybody, because those guns are manned by volunteers and they have to have their lunch too. So rather than pulling different shifts, we'll let everybody go have a nice lunch break and the guns will just take the hour off. But yes, kids love the cannons, they love the animals, there are horses and mules, they love Professor Farquhar's medicine show, and I'm even surprised I can say that properly. If you don't know what a medicine show is, you need to come on by, because it may not cure your ills, but it will sure make you feel better. He is a great guy, he and Polecat Annie. Now, anyone who's named Polecat Annie, you gotta go and see her. They do a great act. We'll have Camp Cookie, who is a chuck wagon cook and entertainer. We'll have, as I mentioned, 3 period bands. There will be a Native American camp. There will be soldiers and sutlers and outlaws. And of course, if you have outlaws, you have to have sheriffs and marshals. Just a visual, noisy, crazy, smoky, smelly delight that any kid would eat up.
And you mentioned about Santa will be there that morning having pancakes with the kids, but there's also Santa and Mrs. Claus there the rest of the day.
Santa's a busy boy during this weekend. Santa not only hangs out at the breakfast on Saturday morning, Santa and Mrs. Claus will be in the headquarters building, which is turned into the Santa house. That alone is worth the price of admission. You go in that thing and this is like a candy cane winter wonderland. In fact, you wonder where the headquarters went. They just decorated to the max. And Santa and Mrs. Claus will be there answering children's inquiries at targeted times throughout the weekend.
And one of the other things that kids really love is going and checking out all the incredible creations made of gingerbread.
And they really check it out because if they have an entry and they win a prize, they get a check. So what's wrong with that? This is another part of the Christmas event that has just grown and grown far beyond our expectations. I think last year we had 50 gingerbread houses and dozens of decorated gingerbread cookies. They're all on display in the central ward of the hospital. Follow the candy cane path, and we'll have the judges judge them the day before, so you'll see which ones win. I have absolutely no artistic talent at all, so I am just amazed at what people can do with this stuff. I mean, it is incredible.
Fort Concho is, of course, a National Historic Landmark, and as such, you showcase history throughout the year, including at Christmas at Old Fort Concho.
We do, and in a way, some of it is out there in your face, and some of it is kind of hidden, because when you run a festival that has 15,000 guests, certain things get hidden, so the fort definitely looks different. It doesn't look entirely like a frontier fort with the Christmas decorations. On the other hand, you can't beat that parade ground. We'll have 20 to 25 camps, 6 to 8 cannons, some horses and mules, maybe a wagon or two, 2 or 3 chuck wagons, Native Americans, soldiers, sutlers. It is a history lesson in the first, second, and third person. So we will interpret virtually every aspect of the 1800s, maybe up to the early 1900s.
And one of those interpretations, although not historically accurate, the Concho Cowboy Company.
It's accurate in that it didn't necessarily take place on our grounds, but it took place someplace. Jack Smith and the Contra Cowboys represent a very entertaining and educational portion of the event. They set up a little town, used to be little, it's gotten bigger over the years, which is good, and they perform skits and gunfights. They are very good, they're award-winning. They have won various awards for their performances out of town. And they're real good interpreters. In fact, we'll probably have the Wells Fargo stagecoach out there. Kids can climb in and see what a road trip was when you had a real road trip. None of this 2-hour business. We're talking 16 days to get from Missouri to California. And no pit stops, except every now and then just for a quick meal. A lot of fun, they do good work, and they're well worth seeing.
Now, you mentioned 15,000 visitors over the course of Christmas at Old Fort Concho?
It averages 12 to 15,000. Obviously, it's a wee bit weather sensitive, but we've got the numbers, and it is just an amazing number of folks. In fact, it's actually awe-inspiring. When you're standing on the parade ground, say around 2 or 3 o'clock on Saturday, and that's the peak absolute time, and you've got hundreds of people to the left of you, and hundreds of people to the right of you, and hundreds of people streaming in, I mean, it's just inspiring.
But of course, because the campus of Fort Concho is so large, it doesn't feel like you're being crowded by people, even with that many people there.
No, and that's a good point. You can take 5,000 to 8,000 people and hide them real quick at the site. I mean, you'll have 20 different buildings you can go into, 3 different entertainment areas, dozens of places in the parade ground to go and look, places to eat. Usually, we don't have too many lines outside the building, so if come when you want to. Now, we do offer this advice if you're mobility impaired, have real young children, or just don't want to jostle the crowds. Come early on Friday, we open at 3, come late on Saturday, or come early on Sunday. That's when the crowds are just a little less. On the other hand, if you want to see it in all its glory, come midday on Saturday, because that's when everything's kicking.
And you mentioned about the weather. So if you could dial in the weather, what are perfect Christmas at Old Fort Concho conditions?
I should sit on Santa's lap and ask for this maybe some year. Well, actually, perfect would be average. Average, I'm kind of a weather freak, and the average weather for the first weekend of December is a morning low of 36, a high of 63, and light southwest breezes, and partly cloudy or sunny. I'll take any combination of that. But the show goes on. We have done it in rain and cold, sleet and snow, blowing dust, everything but earthquakes and locusts, and we're probably safe on those 2.
Now, one of the remarkable things at Christmas at Old Fort Concho is this long menu of things that you've just talked about that people can experience there it's really quite a bargain to go to Christmas at Old Fort Concho.
That's another good point. We have not raised the rates in a number of years, and after all, this is a fundraiser. I mean, it's our biggest fundraiser of the year. But we want to make it accessible, and we want to make it affordable. So we structure the fees at a rate where it's not going to bust the wallet too badly. For $7 for an adult, $5 for seniors and military, $3 for a kid, and I think under 6 is free. It's more entertainment and fun that you'll get dollar for dollar in any other place in town. And if you look at some of the other festivals of its kind in the larger cities, you would pay twice that. Now, eventually, we will have to raise the rates. Costs go up, and we have to pay our bills like anyone else. But right now, we're doing okay. So come out and enjoy it at these rates. It's worth every nickel.
And people can buy those tickets in advance. So tell them when and where they can get those, Bob.
Well, you can not only buy a single day pass in advance. Really, the bargain is to buy a weekend pass. You get 3 days for the price of 2. All of the tickets, the passes, the tickets for the events I've mentioned, the kids' workshops, all of that available at the Barracks 1 Visitor Center, 630 South Oaks, opposite the Farmers Market. There's parking across the street. If you're just going to jump in and jump out real quick, there's a little parking drop zone right on the parade ground side. And we'll be there 9 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday, and actually Monday through Saturday, and 1 to 5 on Sunday. Only days we'll close between now and the event are Thanksgiving Day.
You mentioned about the parking, and of course, we get a little spoiled here in West Texas. We want to park directly in front of wherever it is that we're going. That won't necessarily be the case at Christmas Old Fort Concho.
A little hard.
But tell people where they can park. Where are the good spots for parking?
Well, first, the good news is the parking is free. And most of the times, your car will be there when you get back. I mean, this is a pretty safe town, so that's a good thing. Here's a tip. Park, if you're coming at peak periods, obviously some of the better parking areas that are visually nearby are going to be taken. One of the lots that doesn't seem to fill as quickly as the others is the Flipper Street lot. That's the block north of the fort. It is not a far walk from the Flipper Street lot to any one of the several ticket booths on the fort's north side.
That's where I park when I go.
It's a real easy walk. You park in the Flipper Street lot, and then you come down Wool Street, and you got 2 choices. You can take a left and do the ticket booths by Barracks 5 and 6, or you can take a right onto Oaks, come down Oaks, and there's 2 ticket booths there at Oaks and our visitor center. Maybe an extra 45 seconds. It's worth every step, because that lot usually doesn't fill. But we do ask that our guests be respectful of our neighbors and not block any driveways or access ways. There are spaces around that are legal if you just look very well and plan accordingly.
Now, we've mentioned several times, Christmas Old Fort Concho this year, December 7th through the 9th. That's a Friday through a Sunday.
Correct.
Tell us the hours that you'll be open during those days.
On Friday, we open at 3 o'clock. That's when the serious shoppers come. You see them lined up at the ticket booth, and it's like the Oklahoma land rush. You ring that bell, and they rush and start hitting the various buildings.
Really?
Go shopping. That's a good time to come 3 to 5 because school is still getting out. Most folks are working real jobs, and it's busy, but it's not overwhelming. So if you don't have to be anywhere that day, that's the time to come to have it all to yourself. So it's 3 to 8 on Friday. It is 9 to 7 on Saturday, and that's the long day, and it's 11 to 4 on Sunday. So about 20 hours worth.
And if people want more information, of course, the best place to go is to the Fort's website, fortconcho.com.
We have most everything up there, and if you just want to give us a call, and we're there 7 days a week, easy number to remember, 657-4444.
657-4444.
Rolls off the tongue.
Very good. So we've been talking with Bob Bluehart. He is the manager at Fort Concho. And again, if you've never been to Christmas at Old Fort Concho, you must go because it is one of San Angelo's signature events, and you might as well check that off your bucket list. And you'll be delighted at all the pleasures that you'll find there. So check it out, December 7th through the 9th, Christmas at Old Fort Concho. For more information, fortconcho.com.